All right, welcome everyone. Uh, yeah, welcome to our our latest webinar. Sorry, I lost my camera. There we go. See if it'll stay up this time. All right, so welcome to our latest webinar. This webinar, we're going to look at our mobile system. We're going to take a look at it from the perspective, not perspective, that's probably the wrong word. What we're going to use to look at it is the latest version of our direct line mobile system. This would be version 5. So if you're using mobile currently, you might see that when we show screenshots and when I actually show the mobile system, it might look a little bit different than what you're currently using. And if we talk about any features today that you don't have in your current system, by all means, reach out to your account manager, or if you don't know who your account manager is or you don't have their contact info, reach out to our support team and they'll get you in touch with your account manager, and we'll make sure you get access to, or yeah, make sure that you have available to you all of the features that will be useful to you that we talk about today. All right. So the way we're going to work this, we usually I've got Matt White here. Uh, he's going to be monitoring the chat. I have all the microphones turned off just to avoid any kind of background noise or anything like that. So if you have questions as we go along, post them in the chat. We're going to stop a few times through the process, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that come up. Runtime is between 45 minutes and an hour. I think we did this for another group last week, and it was about 50 minutes. So we'll be right around that time frame. All right, so let's get started. So what are we going to talk about today? I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to talk about why would we want to go with mobile? Why do we want to use a mobile solution? And I'll give you a few reasons why I personally I personally love using mobile, and the advantages that I see with it. We're going to talk about mobile planning, something that's been made a little bit easier in the latest version of our direct line mobile, and not just made easier, but we've added a little bit of functionality to it as well to give uh, give people a little bit more ability to make changes to work orders from the mobile system. We're going to take a quick look at on-demand and other checklists. So the last webinar, if anyone who was in the last webinar, we talked about checklists, and we talked about on-demand, and we really focused completely on checklists. Well, I'm going to talk about that a little bit today, and partly because I want to show you some new features that are on checklists now that we didn't have on checklists in the previous when we did the previous webinar 6 months ago or so. We'll talk about inventory management and some of the inventory features that are available on the mobile system. We have we've got a few different features that can be used to make it so that the mobile is useful for stockroom staff, for receiving clerks, for your maintenance techs to actually pull inventory. So we've got some of that there, and we're going to take a look at equipment as well, because something that we have added in this version that we didn't have before is the ability to add new inventory items, and new equipment records can be created right from Direct Line Mobile. So we're going to take a look at that today as well. All right, so why Direct Line Mobile? Why mobile in general? Accessing work orders from a mobile device has been around a little while. It's the first time I did it myself, I was in a previous job. I was a traveling technician repairing ATMs and POS systems, and I was using one of these. Some of you may remember these. the old BlackBerry with the little scroll wheel on the side. Fantastic device for its time. And we used to update work orders on that device, but it was very limited. It was slow. You had to wait till you were connected to a network in order to upload your updated work orders. They would corrupt as you did it. It was a whole thing. It was way better than writing them down on paper, but there were limitations. Now everybody's got a smartphone on their hip or in their pocket. This is not cool to carry it on your hip anymore, apparently. So everybody's got a smartphone in their pocket, and your smartphones, as long as you have an internet connection, you can connect to Direct Line Mobile, and you can have everything live. Everything happens live, so you can look up inventory live, know exactly what's on the shelf. Right? You can pull that inventory and make it unavailable to anyone else right when you're doing it. You can stockroom stack and be pulling that inventory off the shelf and updating it on the mobile, and then it's updated for everyone. You can complete checklists at the site, so you can be out in the plant or out in the yard at your machine completing your checklist, and it's completed live. You can clock into work orders so your planners know exactly who's working on what work order, and that again happens right away. Accurate time tracking I have listed here. That's your clocking in and clocking out. You're clocking in when you start the job, you're clocking in when you're done the job, and it's tracking how much time you spent on it, tracking the costs for those machines, the labor costs for those repairs and those PMs. And we're doing it very nice and accurate. Enhanced checklist features. So this is something that's only available on Direct Line Mobile, because when you're completing a checklist, you can trigger a follow-up work order for a checklist deficiency. So you can trigger that to create that follow-up work order and get the ball rolling on a repair as you're doing your preventive maintenance. And more accurate inventory tracking. I talked about that, being able to pull parts right out of inventory live, right from your mobile device while you're at site. So, all right. So let's get into what we can actually do with this, because I've talked about it a bit. I've said it's great. Let me show you why it's great. So planning with Direct Line Mobile. This is something that I've been asked about numerous times over the years. I want to be able to have my supervisors issue work orders. I want to assign all the electrical work orders to the electrical supervisor and have him decide who's going to do them. Can he do that from mobile? Well, in the past, there's been a way to do it. You could set up that electrical supervisor as a team lead, and then he'd have limited ability to make some changes to the work order, maybe change the issue to and a couple other things. But that means you had to set him up as a team lead, and you had to set up crews and things like that. And we made a change to that. So we've made mobile planning an easy setting in user security. So you can set it for any user. When it's set, they can edit issue 2, they can change or add equipment, they can change the description, add priorities. And I'm going to go through and show you what this looks like. But you can change priorities, and you can correct the equipment. Somebody says line 1 is down. Well, now if someone who has planning ability can then go and look at, okay, well, line 1 is not down, but the conveyor on line 1 is jammed. So the conveyor is your equipment, so you can set that. So now you're getting accurate tracking of the issues. And what I'd say here, kind of like what I've been describing, works well for supervisors on the move, because your electrical supervisor might be out there doing troubleshooting and doing repairs and moving from job to job. But with Direct Line Mobile, he's got his phone in his hand, or in his pocket, and he can go and issue work orders as they come in. So like I said, it's a simple setting. It's simple to turn on. It's a very simple setting. We just enable planning function on mobile. This is in your user security and the user entry section. So you do it on a user by user basis. And I'm not expecting everyone here to remember how to do this, and you don't, probably all of you don't have access to do this. I just wanted you to know that it's available. I want you to remember that, okay, we can set that. So you can talk to support, you can talk to your account manager, and they can help you get this set up so that you can enable the planning function for the people who need it. And this is what the planning function is going to look like. Okay, so I'm logged into DirectLine into DirectLine Mobile here. This is the latest version of DirectLine Mobile. We've got if you have mobile now, you'll notice the layout is very similar to what you're used to. The color palette's a little bit different. The theme is a little bit different, a little more modern, hopefully. But the functionality is all there, and then some. If you haven't been using mobile, if you haven't used DirectLine Mobile in the past, this probably looks like it's way too big, way too much information to fit onto your phone. Well, what we do is the system detects the size of your screen, and if you're working from a phone like this, a skinny phone screen like this, it takes that menu that was on the left-hand side and it hides it up here in the menu button. So now we can still access all of our information. We can still see everything. We just have it, we just hide a little bit of information, move a little bit of it out of the way so that you can still use all of your controls, right? We keep all the controls big enough that you can get to them with your fingers. All right, so we're talking about planning. How do we do work order planning from here? Well, my thought is the people who are going to use this are going to be the people like I mentioned, supervisors who are excuse me, supervisors who are receiving work orders and issuing them to their specific employees, or issuing them to employees who are going to be doing the work. So what I did is I created a list here for electrical work. Okay, so my supervisor might set up a filtered list like this for electrical work. And now that list is going to show all of the work orders that are issued to electrical. Okay, so we're going to see all of those show up here in this list, and anybody can create one of these lists just by going to the settings button. So when you're in My Work, if you go to the settings button, you have the ability to create a filter. Okay, and if you would like to do that, and you can create as many filters as you want. I have users who have 10 or 15 filters here to show them different groups of work orders. If you want help to do that, just call our support line. They'll be happy to walk you through how to set up whatever filters you need. So now my supervisor has got his list of work orders here, or their list of work orders here. These are all the electrical work orders. We can see which ones are issued because the issue to is filled out. And I've got one here in my list that has no issue to on it. I just need to find it. There we go. The very last one in the list it has no issue to. And we can change the sorting here. So I would have the sorting set to sort by issue to. So it showed all the ones that have not been issued on the top, or something along those lines. So I'm going to select this work order, and I want to plan this. Okay, I want to decide who's going to do it. So here's all the information about my work order. I can hit the little gear button over in the bottom right-hand corner, and I can go to Edit Work Order. Now here's my work order. I can see it's assigned to electrical. I've got my work description here. If I looked at that and I said, "Oh, that shouldn't be for electrical, it should be mechanical," I could change the assign to. I can decide who I want to issue it to. So it's going to be electrical, so let's issue it to an electrician. So I can hit the drop down here on issue to, and here's my list of employees that I can issue it to. So we're going to issue it to Thomas. And now when Thomas logs in, Thomas logs into his mobile, it's going to show up in his My Work list. Now I can do other things as well. I might set a priority on it. I might look at it and say, oh, we have wires exposed. Let's set a high priority on that. So let's make that urgent. Okay, so we may make that an urgent priority. That's going to set a due date on the work order. Once I've made my changes, I've got it planned, I know who's going to do it, I can just change the status to in progress and hit save. And now that work order is going to show up on Thomas's list because we issued it to him. He's going to see that it's urgent. So it's going to show up right here in his My Work list, and it's going to have high priority listed on it. So he knows he has to get to it. So we made that planning nice and easy to get to. You can use these lists, use filtered lists to filter out the work orders that you need to plan, that each supervisor needs to plan, and then they can use that the edit work order function to do that planning, to issue it to whoever they need to issue it to. Now, here's something else that I've been asked about a lot. Notifications. So we said that we can issue those work orders. So I issued that work order to Thomas. How does Thomas know that it's there? Well, he can simply log into his mobile, and it'll be right there in his My Work list. Right? It'll be right there immediately as soon as it's issued. But I've been asked many times, how do we notify somebody that they have that work order there? So in DirectLine Mobile, we do have a notifications function. Okay, you can be notified when a work order is issued to you. I did speak with our R&D team, and they said right now it notifies you when a work order has been issued to you, but we can customize those notifications for other events as well. So if a new electrical work order gets put in, maybe I want to receive a notification for that. And we can make that happen through notifications. Their notifications are turned on by the individual on their device from the home screen of the mobile. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, here's the limitation. It's only supported. Hold on. There we go. It's only supported on Windows and Android devices. Okay. Apple does not allow push notifications from a web page, so we can't make it work on Apple devices because we are using a web application or a web app. So we don't have we don't have the ability to use it from Apple.
And sorry, Corey, this is Matt.
Sure.
If I may just jump in, we did this webinar last week, and I had a few people reach out saying, oh, mobile's not supported by Apple, and I just want to clarify, it's only the push notifications. Everything else is fully use your tablet, all that sort of stuff. I know it's in the citizens notifications, but I did have a few people who took that the wrong way. So it's only specifically for that one item here that he's talking about.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that, because it absolutely works on Apple. I've got an iPhone right here. I use it on my iPhone all the time. I've trained people on my iPhone all the time. So it definitely works on Apple. It works great on Apple. This is the only limitation, is push notifications. Okay. So the way it works is right on the home screen of the mobile, there's a configure option. So you hit configure application settings. Then these are the application settings. So we've got a few things that we can edit here. We've got notifications, which if we tap on notifications, it's going to ask, do we want to subscribe to those notifications? We say yes, and they're there. Okay, then you'll start getting the notifications from your browser. Edit profile allows you to add an email address to your profile. And the reason why you would add an email address to your profile is so that this change password function right here will work. So change password is a functionality, change password is a function that we previously did not have from mobile. So people would have to log into the desktop version to reset their password or change their password, or call support to do it. You don't have to do that anymore. You can use the change password function right there from your right from your mobile. That also gives you the ability to limit your mobile users to only accessing mobile. So if you had users who are using mobile and you said, well, I don't want them logging into the desktop and making changes to anything else, getting into I don't know, purchasing and things like that. I only want them doing what I give them access to on mobile. Well, you can actually make a user have mobile access only. That's a security setting um, in their user account. So you can make them a web user only, and then they won't have access to the desktop application. They'll only have access to mobile. And since we have a change password function here now, you can change your password. They can change the password right from the mobile. So there's never any reason for them to connect to the desktop. All right. So that's kind of our first section. Does anybody have any questions about any of that?
I'm not seeing any in the chat.
Okay. All right. We'll move on then. And like I said, feel free to put any questions in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them, or at least get you an answer after. All right. So the next piece that I want to talk about is on-demand inspections. Okay, and we'll keep this one short because in a previous webinar we did go through a whole piece on on-demand inspections. So I don't want to go over the same thing over again. And all of those previous webinars are available on our YouTube channel. So feel free to check that out if you're interested in on-demand inspections. And I don't get into enough detail here. So what are on-demand inspections? So the on-demand inspections make a checklist available without a PM, right? So you mostly you set up checklists to go along with a PM procedure. You're doing an inspection, or you're doing an inspection on a machine, and you've got a checklist of all the things that you need to check. And you'd attach that to your PM, and they get attached to all the work orders. Works really well. But what about for times where you're not, where it's a checklist that you're not filling out all the time? You're not doing, you don't have it come out, you don't want it to come out at a regular interval. You just want to check it whenever you need it. Like maybe you want to do forklift inspections at the start of every day, but you don't want to set up a daily PM. You just want people to go in and do an on-demand inspection. Well, you can set that up here. Then they'll be able to go into their mobile, trigger an on-demand inspection. It'll create a work order with a checklist attached, and they can complete that checklist. So that gives us things like the other one, daily walkarounds, right? So for those daily things that maybe you don't want your PM scheduler running every day, you don't want someone to have to run the PM scheduler every day, you can do on-demand inspections like this, and then you don't have to worry about who the work orders are issued to because they're being triggered by the person who's going to do them. They are only available on DirectLine Mobile, and they can be done on buildings or equipment. So there's a little bit of setup to them when you're creating a checklist. So this is the checklist definition entry screen in the DirectLine system. We set up our checklist, and there's an on-demand tab that we use where we decide if it's going to be an equipment inspection, a room inspection, or a building inspection. Then we decide what class of building or what rooms or what equipment this checklist is for. If we're doing it for a building or a room, we can link it to specific building classes or specific rooms. And this is what it looks like on the DirectLine Mobile when we want to trigger one of those. Right? So we set up the checklists, or we create the checklist, we set up the on-demand part of it, and then we trigger it right from our DirectLine Mobile. So from your phone, you're going to go to on-demand inspection, or your phone or your tablet or whatever device you're using. We can do an equipment inspection. We can select our building. And we can do this for just equipment, but I have it set up on a building right now. But you can set it up so that it just triggers for equipment. So you can select just a specific equipment number. And then what we'll get is this list of checklists for that list of checklists for that equipment. So I set this one up here. This is a weekly warehouse cleaning log for this building. So if I check that and I hit done, it's going to create a work order. And that work order is going to have a checklist attached. Right? So now I can clock into this work order and I can start working on it. Nope. Then I can select my checklist. Excuse me. And then I can mark off my tasks as I do them. Now, I showed you all of that. I wanted you to see the on-demand inspections because I think that's a useful tool that I don't think is used enough. So I wanted to make sure I showed it to you. But I wanted to have a checklist because I wanted to show you this. This is the new feature. So you'll notice on each task, we have these two little icons. This little triangle with the exclamation mark in it, that lets us mark this as a deficiency. So for any of these tasks, we can say this is deficient. It tells us a follow-up work order is going to be created when the checklist is completed. And here we can put in our deficiency description. Right? So there's our deficiency. So now when we save this work order, it's going to create a follow-up work order. Or when we save the checklist, it's going to create a follow-up work order. Here's the other thing that we can do from here. This second icon, and I don't know how well you guys can see it, but this second icon is a camera. So I can hit that and I can take a picture now. And it's a closed laptop, so it's not going to be much of a picture, but I can capture a picture and attach it right to the checklist. Okay, so now for each item, I can say yes or no. I can add deficiencies and I can add a picture. So if I've got a greasy spill on the floor here that I'm creating a follow-up work order for, I can also attach a picture so that whoever looks at it can see can see what that spill was. Or whatever, can see whatever the problem is. This is something that we've been working on for quite a while to be able to add the pictures to the checklists, and it is there in this version. So now once I'm done, it says all items have been completed. I say yes, and then I hit save, and then it's going to create that follow-up work order. Right? So it says you may view the generated follow-up work order. If I hit modify follow-up work order, it's going to bring me right to it, and we're going to see that the description says follow-up deficiency from that work order and that checklist, and here's the description that we put in. Right? So it generates that follow-up work order, and it's generating it not from something that was preset, which is how we had to do it in the past, and you can still do it that way, where it forces creating a follow-up work order under certain circumstances. But this allows us to generate that follow-up work order on the fly. Okay? So that was the big thing that I wanted to show you on checklists. Was something that we have here that some of you may not have on mobile is the ability to add another checklist to our work order right from here. Right? So you can attach another checklist or attach a checklist to a work order right from your direct line mobile. All right. Are there any questions about checklists or on-demand checklists?
Yeah, Jasmine just asked if they can see the picture in Megamation, like on the desktop, and I just said yes, but if you want to elaborate, fine. But I mean,
you know what? If I had thought of it earlier, I would have made it so that I could take a picture, but the shell of my laptop's closed, so I couldn't take a picture. And then I would show you. But yeah, once that picture is taken and it's attached to the checklist, it can be viewed anytime you view that work order. Okay, so anytime you look at that work order in that checklist, you'll be able to see that picture. So that's the whole idea behind it. Is once it's in there, it's there. The same as if you are attaching pictures to work orders or attaching documents to work orders. Once they're attached to that work order forever. Unless you go in and delete them off, they're just there.
Yeah, same as if you finish the work order and you want to say, look, it's done. Here's a picture of that completed work. That's there forever, and your boss can't tell you that wasn't completed.
Exactly. All right. Okay. Yeah, are there any other questions? All right. Let's move on to the next part then. So our next section is going to be inventory. I want to show you a few additional features that were added for inventory. So the when we think about mobile, we mostly think about the when we think about mobile, we mostly think about being able to do work orders with it. We would think about our maintenance staff being able to update their work orders, complete their checklists, things like that from Direct Line Mobile. But it can also be used by other people. It can be used by stockroom staff, right? Your stockroom staff can use the mobile to excuse me, to issue out parts, to do cycle counts, right? Doing cycle counts from your mobile device is so much easier than doing it on a clipboard. We have the ability to add QR codes for we have the ability to add QR codes for scanning. So we can add them on your bins or on the individual parts, so you can scan them to issue them to work orders or scan them to update on-hand quantities or whatever you're doing. And we're using QR codes because QR codes are easier to read than I can't remember what the regular barcodes are called. There's a word for it, but they're easier to read with any device because you can take your iPhone with the camera that's in it, or your Android phone or whatever, and you can scan a barcode with it. Right? The cameras will pick up QR codes. Another thing is we took a few QR codes and we scribbled on them and made mess all over them, and it takes quite a bit to mess them up to the point where the camera won't read them. And then the other thing is we can now add new inventory items into the system from mobile. So your receiving clerks can receive, when they're receiving parts, if they're receiving something that's not been in the system, that's not been used before or not been tracked before, they can add that as an inventory item, and you can start tracking the inventory on that. So you're getting live inventory results. So you're getting, as soon as you update inventory, whether you're issuing it to a work order, receiving it into the system, doing quantity adjustments, anything like that, it's happening live. So as soon as you do it on your phone, it's happening in the database. So you don't have to fill a bunch of stuff out on your phone and then take it and plug it in and upload your data or anything like that. What you're doing on your mobile device is happening right away in the database, so everybody can see it. We can issue parts from mobile. So there's an issue screen right in the DirectLine mobile where we're going in. We just need to put in who we're issuing it to, what work order it's for, and then we can issue as many parts as we want, right? So we are putting in our work order number, and then we can start adding parts to the issue with their quantities, and we can add as many as we want. So our stockroom person can take their cart and they can be walking around the warehouse, scanning a part or entering in a part to pull it off, take it off the shelf, enter it in, put it on the cart, move on to the next thing, and issue all of the parts for that work order, effectively create a kit for that work order, and be pulling them out of inventory as they go because they're now attaching to this work order. QR codes. This is another one you've probably seen. I think everyone's seen these QR codes because they're everywhere now. But what we do is we print out, or we give you the ability to print QR code labels like this. Okay, we customize what information you're seeing on it. This one is for a slimline ballast 120 volt, because that's the information that we put on this in our demo system. But we can put whatever information you would like to see as far as text on the label, and then a QR code that can be scanned that the system will read and be able to bring up that part. So if that's something you were interested in, you talk to your account manager, you'd need a barcode printer on your side, and you can scan with DirectLine Mobile, and you'll be able to then barcode QR code all of your parts. You can also, there's also a certain amount of functionality you can use with the equipment module with QR codes. We have a few clients who will put a QR code label on all of their equipment. So when you're submitting a work order for it, you can just scan the QR code to enter the equipment into the work order. So that's something that QR codes is kind of I don't want to say the wave of the future, but it's the way everything's kind of going right now, and there's good reason for that. They work very well, and they work with almost every device, or everyone we've tested anyway. We can create new parts or edit parts in the inventory entry section of DirectLine Mobile. So in the past, you could look up parts information, but you couldn't add new ones. You couldn't really edit a lot of it. But now we can create new ones. So like I said, if you're ordering things, or you have a new piece of equipment comes in and it comes with spare parts, and you're listing those or you want to enter those parts into the system, well, you can do that right here from your mobile. You can generate a new part number. So you just hit that button that says generate new part number. And when you do that, then it's going to bring us to this new this inventory entry new record. And you see part number says assign.save. So it's not locking out any part number until you're ready to hit save. And it gives us it lets us enter all this information: our part number and warehouse, our description, inventory class, on-hand quantity. We can even add our location, so our aisle, shelf, and bin where we're storing it. We can add our category to use with our physical counts or our cycle counts. We can attach an image to it, which is something that I've been asked thousands of times, was to be able to attach images to inventory items, so that when you're looking for a part, you can see a picture of it and know that you're looking at the right one. And when you're doing it with mobile, when you're creating that part, you can add that image right away. So it's nice and easy to do. Excuse me. If we go to the ordering details tab, on the ordering details tab, we can set up our minimum and maximum and reorder quantities. So to be used with our automatic reorder, and we can list any suppliers that we order it from. So between these two screens, we are filling just about all of the information that you would need to put onto a part or put onto an inventory item. You're putting it all on right there. So once we save it, so we have the save button at the bottom. Once we hit save, then it generates that part number, and you can set that. It's using a sequential counter, so you can set that sequential counter to wherever you want it to start, and that's how it'll number all your parts. And just like DirectLine, it'll never reuse the same part number because it is the unique identifier for your parts. So it's always going to give you the next available number. And if you go into that same screen, that same inventory entry screen, you can look up a part using our magnifying glass search button, and you can edit any of these fields. So if you have existing parts and you want to add documents to it, you want to attach pictures to it, you can just bring up that part and you can attach a picture, or you can change the cost, or you can go to the ordering details and add a supplier or change your supplier. So that can all be done right from the mobile, which means you can do it right from your stockroom. Are there any questions about inventory?
No, I'm not seeing any.
All right. Very quiet group today. All right.
They're in awe.
All right. So the last thing that I want to talk to you about, and I'll try not to take more than 10 minutes so that I don't break my promise of staying under an hour. The last thing I want to talk about is equipment. Okay. So we can we have a few equipment functions. Some of them have been in the system for a while, and some of them, such as adding new equipment, are brand new. So this is a new feature that's not been in the system before. For a long time, we've had this option right here. So
sorry, Corey.
Yes.
There is one question.
Oh, okay.
For inventory, can you decrease it without associating it to a work order using the mobile?
You can through an inventory adjustment. So you could go into an inventory entry and you could just adjust the quantity, but it doesn't give you a lot of tracking. So technically yes, but as a recommendation, I would say probably you shouldn't. And only because if you're doing excuse me, if you're decreasing your quantity, you want to know where those parts are going, right? So we do have in the desktop version, there's an inventory adjustment screen that allows you to put a reason why you're doing it. But really, if you need to be able to change that quantity without putting it on a work order, then my suggestion would be to talk to your account manager and see if we can develop a screen or an add-on of some kind that would allow you to do that adjustment while in some way recording why the adjustment is happening. And we've done that for some clients. We talked about it in a meeting last week or the week before. We're doing it for some clients. I don't think we've done it on mobile before, but if you're using mobile and that's how you're doing it, then I'm sure we can develop something to make that work for you. So I would say The short answer is yes. The long answer is you should probably talk to your account manager first, and they'll be able to find a good way for you to do it, or an efficient way that's going to give you all the tracking that you want to have while still keeping it simple. And I hope that answered your question. All right. Okay, so yeah, so equipment. I said we had the ability to add new equipment, and we've got the ability to look up related information about equipment. So, lost my page. There we are. So, the ability to look up information about equipment, that's been in here for quite a while. We have with the equipment search option. So this lets us look up equipment by any of these criteria, right? So if we wanted to say, let's say we want to find a slicer. Let's take this one right here. We can select this slicer, and it's going to show us all the information from the equipment entry, right? So we've got the equipment number, the parent, the description. We can see that the parent is GPL1, so that's General Packaging Line 1. We can see it's in the food production plant. We can see what the last reading was on it. We go down here, we can see manufacturer and supplier details. So we can see it's a Weber, and we have the model and serial number. We have notes and comments. We have any documentation that was attached to it. So any images or manuals or instructions that were attached would all be listed here. We can even see the bill of materials. These are all the spare parts that are used on this machine. We can also go down to the bottom right-hand corner, and we can click this little wrench button, and you're going to see the wrench button. That wrench button, you'll notice you're seeing it in a lot of different places. That's kind of a common theme throughout the system. Anytime you see that, there's additional functions that can be done. So we can see all of this information here, but we can hit that wrench, and now we can see any PMs for it. So with PMs available is 3. So there are 3 PM procedures in the system for it. Previous inspections would show us any checklists that have been completed for it in the past. You know what? Let's grab another slicer, because this one doesn't have a lot of information about it. And you'll notice I didn't do a search there. I just typed in the new equipment number. Right? This one's on Bacon Line 2. There we go. This one's got a little bit more information. So it says view work order, and there's a 3 there. So there are 3 work orders in the system for this equipment. Okay, so these are all open work orders. PMs available. This is going to show us any PM procedures. We can see there's a monthly PM. It was last done July 29th, and it's next due August 26th. Excuse me. What else do we have here? Previous inspections was the other one. I was not supposed to refresh. I got impatient.
While you're looking that back up, we did have a question from Shauna McKenzie, which I think you know well, Corey. I was asking if there's any thought to seeing equipment by hierarchy.
Yep, we can do that. Yep, we can definitely do that. And I always prefer to look at the hierarchy than than to look at a search, because I like to click and go down through, because it gives me a view of where everything physically sits, and that's definitely something we can do. It's actually just an option that we can turn on or off for equipment searches. So if you're using mobile and you want to see the hierarchy, you just let your account manager know, and they'll be able to switch that. And yeah, Sean will be able to do that for you. All right. Um, I wanted to show you one more thing here. Previous inspections.
Yep.
Yeah. So what previous inspections is doing, this is showing us all the checklists that were filled out for this equipment. So now we can flip through all those checklists and we can see the results on every one. So that gives us, we just by looking up an equipment through our equipment search, now we've got the full equipment history. We've got the work orders, we've got the PMs, we've got the checklists all right here at our fingertips. So if I'm going to work on this slicer and I say, I feel like I've seen this problem before, well, I can look it up from here. Or if I want to say, when was the last time it was PM'd, or when was the last time they checked this specific thing, you can do that. They'll be able to look that up from here.
And back to Corey's thing about the QR codes, if a piece of equipment, let's say, had a QR code on it, you walk up to it, you could just pull right up to this entry screen and do all that stuff Corey's talking about.
Exactly. You could go right to your equipment search, tap on the equipment number field, and just scan that QR code, and it'd fill in for you. So just makes it a little quicker, a little easier. And the last thing that I want to mention is right here on equipment entry, because we can create a new piece of equipment just by typing in an equipment number that hasn't been used. And now you see up at the top here, it says new record. Now we can create from scratch our new piece of equipment. So you have new machines coming in, you can be standing at the loading dock, entering your equipment right from here. You can even fill in the parent, and this would be one of those times where, as Shauna mentioned, you'd like to see the hierarchy rather than this criteria search. When you're looking at the parent, it would be nice to look at your hierarchy and find the spot in your hierarchy where you want it to be, and select that as your parent. So if that's something that you would prefer, if you're somebody who's used to using the hierarchical search in the desktop and you want to see it in your mobile, by all means, let us know, and we can make that change for you. Again, just like entering inventory, we just fill in all of our fields. We have the ability to add all of the pertinent information for your equipment, and then you just hit save, and then it's saved. And as soon as you save it here on your mobile, it is available on the desktop.
And Corey, Sean is asking, is the ability to add equipment limited by user type, or is it an individual user selection?
By user type, so by user group. So all of the functionality on mobile is limited, or can be limited through your security settings. So you can remove the equipment entry. You remove the equipment entry screen. You can remove on-demand inspections or new work orders or whatever. Any functionality there can be removed through security. And I think that was the last point I wanted to make. I thought there was one more, but it's gone out of my mind right now. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I think Brian Graham is typing a question.
Perfect.
Can we add manual parts and PDF to the docs?
Yes. Yep. So you can attach PDFs, JPEG images, Word documents, or Excel spreadsheets. Any of those can be attached. There's a file size limit of 2 megabytes, I believe. So you can't attach a PDF that's more than a single PDF that's more than 2 megabytes. But you can attach as many 2 megabyte files as you want. So it just keep in mind that if you attach 100 2 megabyte files, when you bring up that work order, it's going to take a long time to load. So just keep that in mind when you're doing it. But yeah, you can definitely attach any of those file types. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you all picked up some useful information here. All these webinars are recorded. They're all posted on our YouTube channel, which is right here, Megamation 4582. If you search us on YouTube, you'll find our channel. If you subscribe, you'll get notifications every time our new instructional videos go up or recordings of our webinars. As always, our support is 24/7, and if you saw any features in here that you don't have in your mobile, or if you're seeing Direct Line Mobile for the first time and you say, hey, I think we need that, definitely reach out to your account manager and they'll be able to help you out with that, or contact support if you don't know who your account manager is, or if you don't have their contact information, call our support line at 800-344-8655 and they'll be happy to help you out. All right. Thank you all for joining. Everyone, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.